retired major to this show. What caught my attention was the narrative that was around the corridors, around the introduction of a private member's bill in Parliament, seeking an introduction of
for the leader of opposition to
parliamentary administration, but in particular the leader of opposition
to be voted
for by all members of the opposition, inclusive of the independent members. You see, that thing has perturbed me, but most especially today, it went on record. Because today on the floor of Parliament, the Honorable Namara, it was put on the order paper, and indeed, so to leave for it. And I was live, and also some of my colleagues were there. You see, that thing is so problematic. And you see, a law is a double-sided sword. Last time in the 11th Parliament, we also, when the Honorable Rumu, who was opposition, was DP, to be specific, from Mitiana, brought something of the kind. And for him, at least he was specific, because for him he concentrated more on the opposition, to vote for the leader of opposition, because he takes them all. But after the first reading, it died a natural death, and the second time for the second reading, he came clear and said, after the consultations, it did not hold enough water for me to proceed with it. Now, unfortunately, a member of the ruling party is now raising a motion on how they should be opposed. Now, you keep wondering.
He's neither independent nor is he opposition, but he's interested in how you are. You oppose.
You must oppose us rightly. This is the way you should oppose us.
But thank you so much, Comrade Kato. I am very sure we shall have time and then we will go into that. I'm glad it caught your attention and you have expressed it here. Maybe the audience may have something to say about it later in the program. On the night of the 4th, if I'm not mistaken, was it the 4th?
4th June, yes.
Yes, there was a presidential address to the nation where His Excellency the President talked about a number of issues. Comrade Awich Pollar, what was so compelling that the President had to come and address the nation?
Well, thank you so much. The President is the chief executive of the country.
That we know.
And therefore, the mandate of the direction the country is facing rests mainly with him. It's like the driver of the country. Ideally, the Constitution gives him a mandatory once a year where he must address the nation. And that one is under what you call the State of the Nation Address. The State of the Nation Address, it comes from historically the United States system, where out of 52 states, they want to see, is this union working? What is the current status of this union? So in the United States, they call it State of the Union. Now in Uganda, it is called State of the Nation, which is supposed to reflect a mirror exactly how the country is at that time. So the president is expected to address the country and state as it is. If there's challenges here, he's supposed to say it, because it's like you're putting a country or a mirror to reflect it. So that is one provision where a president is mandatorily required to address the state, the country. However, as chief executive, he is also at discretion if the emerging issues, like the one you are asking, what are those pressing issues that made him address this time. Now, the president stated clearly that earlier on he had met interreligious council, because interreligious council in Uganda is a body composed of all the denominations or religions in the country. Christianity, its various denominations, Catholic, Anglican, and born again, and then also the Muslim faith. I don't know whether how the Buddhists are represented in
the
that.
Orthodox are also
the Orthodox are there. So over time and with best practices, this interreligious community or group is seen to be a voice of reason, is seen to be an impartial voice, a civil, impartial, strong voice that can call on government. So they had met the president and raised issues. And I think after raising those issues, the president felt it worth to respond on those issues. So basically, if I was to be brief, it was the president addressed the country on the strength of the meeting with the interreligious community and the issues therefore raised. But I can highlight a few issues that were raised. One issue that was raised was the issue of the gains that Uganda had made in the word of the interreligious community. They're saying Uganda had gained so much that when NRM came to power, there's that common saying in Uganda that at least these days we sleep at night. Yes, that we sleep at night. So according to the interreligious group, the rest was appearing like we are eroding from what NRM had achieved. This was raised, one thing they raised. The other thing they raised was the trade order, which had chased people from the street and other places and told them, no, we need to do trading in gazetted places and we have to obey by the rule and pay taxes and all that. So these were some of the things that were raised by interreligious community or interreligious leaders, and therefore it was touching, and in their opinion it was grave, and the president answered them, but also felt that since it was raised by this, he needed to address the country and also explain the situation vis-a-vis his views, his thinking, and government position. So basically that is why the president came to address the country.
Comrade Awich, just before I come to our brother Kato, it is reported that in that very meeting, His Excellency the President picked the phone when the issue of Auntie Miriam Matembe was brought to his attention. He appeared as if he was hearing it for the very first time, picked the phone, called somebody, and the following day we saw Miriam Matembe being produced at Ruzera Magistrates Court, where she didn't get bail that very time, and she was remanded until the following day, when we had that lengthy, interesting, because bail really rulings are not supposed to be that so lengthy, about 14 or so pages from the principal grade 1 magistrate. The picking of the phone, the calling whoever was called by the president, the production of Auntie Miriam, Dr. Miriam Matembe, is that how, are you comfortable as a senior member of NRM that that's how the country should be run?
And for my UPDF,
that one we shall come to it later.
First of all, I have not known the scenario you are saying, that the president picked a phone and called. No, it's
it
not,
was reported in the papers, and
yeah,
it was
it is not within
to
my knowledge, and I think for now I would take it as hearsay, and I wouldn't indulge in that. But maybe the point you're saying here is, I don't know whether you're insinuating 2 points. One, that is the president aware about major decisions taken? Are you insinuating that he may not have been aware about Matembe? Or are you insinuating that
Matembe was arrested and the president is not aware?
Or are you insinuating that does executive dictate to judicial
not
officers?
Necessarily.
Yeah.
So at that time,
if it's
Matembe
about
was not
that,
at court.
If it is about his knowledge about whether Matembe was arrested or not, or Matembe was arrested and he wasn't in the know, I am not.
And yet it was in the press for about 4 days.
Yeah, I can't comment about it because, first of all, I'm hearing about that phone call from you, and the lawyer that I am.
I also got it from the papers.
Yeah, the lawyer that I didn't even read it in the paper, but the lawyer that I am and cadre that I am, I don't think I would be competent at this time to debate a debate that I'm hearing for the first time. But I guess what you're saying is that is the president, how comes the president is not aware about such a major decision on a senior citizen like Matembe, which had taken days. So I must repeat that I am not aware about the phone call. So I can't comment.
Kato.
Yes.
I must say that I will respect Comrade Awich's position, and I understand.
It's understandable.
Yes. So still on the same, in the same address of the president to the nation, he eloquently talked about a matter that is before court concerning Dr. Chiza Besige. You are a politician.
Yes.
And given the constituency you are representing, it's not a small one. You are really steadily coming up.
Yes.
What is your 50 cents on that? Without being legalistic, that the concept of sub judice and yes.
You see, thank you so much. You see, I cannot even go there because even our president does not also believe in the, when he's addressing, he calls them the colonial and the neo-colonial judges putting on wigs. That story is how he terms them. And that now clearly shows you that he does not believe in the system as the head of the executive. You see, during that address, there are things that we must take in note about. The good comrade made it clear that the presidential address came as a result of a meeting held with the Interreligious Council. So that means these members brought something very pressing that took the president out of his comfort to come and even go ahead to address the nation. Because perhaps we could say he didn't even know what was happening clearly, but when these godly people brought the information, he went ahead to even address the public. Now, to be clear, also to quote
Comrade Awich,
Comrade Pollar, it is clear that the president should address us once in here. And that was the modus operandi before COVID. But since COVID came, I think he got used to the system of having times to come and address anything that he comes and addresses. So he's now used, because he had just addressed us not even 2 months ago, and is now what? Again. So he wants to show us that really I am handling issues. But now, to be clear, because this is an issue of justice.
Therefore, Comrade Kato,
yes.
So therefore, in the same respect,
yes,
that I asked the question to Comrade Awich, what was so compelling for the president to come and address the nation this time around? You could use your time also to answer that.
Okay.
Yeah. Since you are saying he should do it once, now he has probably done it 3 times before even the year closes.
Just this year
so
has done
so
it like, so 4 times. Now, the issue here, to be so clear, I think these religious leaders wanted to compel him to believe in some things to do, because he made it clear, things to do with human rights and things to do with justice. He gave them a clear example. I don't know whether a senior colleague here followed. He said in 1982, when they were in the bush in Semuto, there was an issue where men came and killed people, 3 of them. But when they brought them before the regional magistrate of the time, he does not remember the judgment of that magistrate. But what he remembers, that those people were now brought to him because he was the leader of the command then. So when they brought him, because it was also a council, they had to consult members of the council. Now the then lawyer, Jim Wes, who was part of that council, made it clear and told him, we cannot say that these people killed the other people. The case was, these people had taken a lot of alcohol. So it must be by influence of alcohol that they killed people. Now, the president found that very, very, very irregular.
Repugnant is common sense.
Yes, that people killed someone, and from you are saying, and then the one Jim Wes went ahead and told him, it is clear when these people are in their normal senses, they don't do any offense. But when they take alcohol, so we must now think more of the alcohol that these people take. And now, then, the president went ahead to say, this is very problematic. And that's why I don't believe in the colonial and the neo-colonial judges with wigs. So for him, he believes in the ancient way of doing things in court, whereby, for example, when someone is, because there are he gave us 2 examples. There are those small crimes to do with, for example, when one denies a man sex. You know, he told us some of the cases included denial of sex, when people are married.
Conjugal rights.
Yes, yes. And emphasized a lot on that. Issues to do with denying, for example, Kato food and water, talked about denying your family shelter and food. Those ones we can punish it easily. But issues to do with murder, he said the immediate way of handling that was killing the other one, or blood settlement. Now, what caught my eye was the blood settlement. He made it clear that under blood settlement, now for you, if you're rich, doctor, you are free to kill because you have money to pay back. And after, you bring your priests and they pray about the situation, and that gets away. In this era, we cannot think of blood settlement. And we cannot think of just killing someone because of an allegation. We must have something so clear. Now, this is where I saw double standards. Because after immediately, he went ahead and said, but now, you people, if you see someone who is saying, Kampala tugenda Jocha, tajja kulayira, what do you do with such people? Why do you have to say those things yet you can go to court? Now he's now referring us back to court, yet he does not believe in court. And sarcastically, he made it so clear to us that you see now one VSJ is playing drama in court and does not want to the whole procedure to take place. And in this situation whereby people are raising serious issues of abductions, people are raising serious issues of someone doing things and coming out to show. Now, for example, because this is so touching, you arrest someone because of, with the case of misprision of treason, and a treason that you have not yet even justified. Someone has not even pleaded guilty of the case, or you have not even put a judgment to it. But then you're saying there is someone again who has misprision of treason. Now you're against which case that is not yet justified. But that was also a little bit okay until when he went ahead and justified that. You see, those times ago, my religious leaders were raising an issue of abductions. But you're saying this, but during those days, someone would commit crime against government or say something against government, they would just get them and they kill them from Namanve. But this time in Warake, they just abduct them and then they are brought to court. And now this brings me to what Katikiro said last time. He said, okay, these times are okay. They are not bad than their mean times and Obote. But these are not the times we can be proud of. And you see, Doctor, we should change so much the narrative of we fought. We cannot reach time of discussing the future and you say tuwe wakakuturo. You're always bringing the past, yet we are in issues of the future. The world is digitalized. We now have to think of AI. We now have to think of how we make our pipeline modern. And you say, tuwe wakakuturo. You see, those are things that really keep bothering us. And before I even go to other issues he talked about, the issue of justice and human rights, things of abducting people.
That's where I would use some considerable time to really express yourself. Comrade Awich, you may of course have something to say about this, but my specific question is in respect to the corruption which he eloquently talked about in his address, but also the issue of encroachment of wetlands and other gazetted government protected areas. Do you think he is saying too little, a bit too late, or he has got his hands right on the actual issues that are actually affecting man, generally speaking, and he has provided medicine, like he said. The issue of corruption, especially in the health centers, is twofold, and stealing of parish money, the PDM, that you either report to the religious leaders or government officials, and for health, I think there is also some other prescription that he talked about. How did you find those two areas, corruption, then the encroachment of man on the protected areas like the wetland in the State of the Nation address by the President?
Okay, corruption, wetland. Corruption, wetland. I'll answer that, but let me just comment briefly about what is going on. Now, I need to make it clear that while I insist that the State of the Nation is a mandatory way a president can address, I am saying at his discretion as the chief executive, he can address. So he can even come back tomorrow. He can even come back the next day. Only that emergencies that demanded national attention were prominent during COVID, because COVID was life and death. But much as the mandatory
but he killed us with that statement. And therefore, whenever you hear therefore,
So I just want to make it clear that there's only one mandatory that he must. But I'm saying he, as a chief executive, he has a discretion to address as many times as he wants. So the other thing is the component of the explanation on the Luero Bush criminal justice procedures. Of course, in a normal criminal justice procedures, I think what Jim was tried to do, which we are taught in Makerere.
He was a defense counsel, anyway.
Which we are taught in Makerere is that for a criminal offense, you need mens rea, which is a Latin phrase. Mens rea is that
the intention.
You must have the intention. So Jim, I think in his school, law school, he went through like me, was trying to emphasize of the guilty mind, the intention. Because, for example, I've been telling friends that on my part of the country, in Utuka and Agago, we border Karamojong. For a long time, Karamojong believed that cassava is not planted, that it was wild. Now, if you arrested a Karamojong who possibly uprooted Okelo's cassava, 2 sacks, And maybe as he was uprooting, he was even whistling. If he really didn't know cassava was for somebody, if you arrested him and took him to court and charged him of theft, and you ask him and said, did you steal the cassava? He'll say, no, I uprooted cassava, but I didn't steal. And then you said, do you know it belongs to Kello? He said, no, this thing is a wild plan. Unless the prosecution comes with evidence. For example, that here is appointment letter. This man once worked in Kinyara Sugar Work. And here is the payment salary slips. This man was earning salary in Kinyara. Therefore, he lived there. He woke up every morning in Kinyara seeing cassava being planted. He cannot come to this honorable court and says it is wild. But if the court finds that, then he's guilty of the offense. But if the court found that he didn't know,
the mind was so innocent.
He's innocent.
You never intended.
So I think that is what Jim was laboring to explain, that the criminal law is about a guilty mind. However, justice doesn't end like that. It therefore makes the matter a civil liability. You have taken Okello's cassava, which he was using for feeding his family. Sasula 2 cows. So the Karmojong wouldn't walk away. He would say, since you didn't know you are committing a crime, we are not taking you to jail. However, pay what? 2 goats or 2 cows for Okello to look after his family. Because the principle in criminal law is that everybody must be guilty of a wrong. And that is why it is said that ignorance of law is no defense. Meaning, you don't even need to know a section which prohibits stealing a mango, because by the time you are pulling a mango, you are looking left, right, to see if they're seeing you.
Nobody's looking at you.
If they're seeing you. So who told you there's a section which says don't steal a mango? Why were you looking at this? So therefore, I think what Jim tried to elaborate that the president found it difficult to believe was that a crime needs a mind to know. So Jim was saying if you are drunk, then you don't know what you're doing, so you don't know a guilty mind.
And that is also true.
Yes.
That you may be drunk to a certain point, that indeed you are.
Of course, in criminal law, there's the drunkardness to insanity, to a level of insanity. Colleagues, I was in the case of Ongwen at the ICC. And I was on the defense team because up to now I'm an enrolled expert of the ICC. I make presentation to ICC. Good. So in the Ongwen case, we tried to say that Ongwen grew up in the bush with LRA, and therefore his sense of judgment was impaired. He grew up a child. The International Criminal Court ICC refused our argument. They said no, as a human being, you must know wrong and right. They said we are not charging Ongwen for actions when he was below 18. We are talking of when he was 18. As long as he was 18, whether you grew up with monkeys, you grew up with what you should know is wrong. So this principle, we keep arguing it about. At what point do you need the guilty mind? I think Jim was doing that. But I must make it clear that at the time of the struggle, if we had adhered to strict criminal justice procedures, we wouldn't have imparted the discipline that it was. So I kind of agree with Museveni's actual proof of wrong or right at that time. Because at the time when you're a guerrilla movement, at a time that you needed to attract the support of the masses, at a time that you needed to show that government soldiers are killing for us, we are not killing, and you move into the theoretical and the philosophical basis of a criminal justice procedure of proving mens rea when they killed, it wouldn't have worked for us. It worked according to Museveni, and we earned massive support. And it continued, and we had more firing squad. So I agree with the president to that point, that at the time in the struggle, if we stuck to the normal criminal justice procedures of mens rea, we wouldn't have achieved what we achieved in the discipline of the army.
So, comrade, the point there is what now?
Because
in that respect, wait,
the point there, he was trying to bring a point of the struggle and how we ushered in peace and why there was support and people were happy to the extent that even when he stood with Makerere, he got 75%.
Because if I may remind you,
yes,
he said that in respect to abductions,
yes,
and the argument was from our fountain of honor that even when they are abducted, put in the basements,
that was later. That was later.
3 days, they are brought to
no,
court,
that was later.
Courts.
Here, what he was trying to say. Here, what he was trying to say that the interreligious council is saying, we had peace, we were sleeping, you are eroding it. So he was forced to explain how that peace was attained, how the enforced discipline in the army, in the guerrilla, which became a government army, was reached at. And therefore, from there, he's saying we should do everything to maintain that. This other issue of arrest is saying came much later, thing under another subtopic. But what he was explaining was to say, yes, the interreligious community is saying people achieved, welcome you, and were sleeping. So he was forced to flash back on how we achieved that, to that extent. This one came later.
Comrade, he kept emphasizing on how we should follow the ancient courts. Because he does not understand these judges of wigs these days.
That one, I think,
there is a concept of alternative justice resolution.
Yes.
The ADR. It is very popular, and some of our retired chief justices and what have you, and other high court retired justices have trained in that area, and they are doing a great job. We have resolved very serious misunderstandings. When you go to South Africa, for instance, you will find that the traditional justice played a very important role in calming down the victims of apartheid. In Rwanda here, the Gacaca courts, which traditionally really they were courts that resolved disputes, also disposed of a number of. We wouldn't have, I don't think anybody really would have qualms against the fountain of honor agitating for the dispute, alternative dispute resolution. Just like Comrade Awich was talking about the arguments which they made in the International Criminal Court, and they rejected the argument that was it Koyero or Koyero? No, this is when. Certainly, if it was in our traditional courts here, I want to believe that certain things would have worked really, because we have to have that element as well. But gentlemen, I know that our first phase is first timing out. I would wish that Comrade Awich, you sum up your submission.
Yes, I want to sum up on environment and corruption. But just to wind up on this is that, as you said, the alternative dispute resolution is welcome. There was a traditional feeling that on capital offenses, it should not, like defilement, murder, and all that. But increasingly, it is being seen in the wider definition of justice. What is justice? Criminal justice has objectives. One, to penalize the doer. Two, to make happy the offended. And three, to prohibit those who want to do the offense again in future. These are the cardinal aim of criminal justice procedures. So if you can achieve that through ADR, it's okay. For example, if they killed your brother and you went to court and the accused is willing to do something which would meet the ingredient of justice, so be it. And that is the argument of it.
Did we see that in the case of, I think, case of Kanyamunyu?
Yes, Kanyamunyu.
Now, having said that, gentlemen, we have another big hour that is coming up, where we shall allow Comrade Awich to finalize his submission. But for now, let's go for a break, and please don't go away. We are coming back it will be bigger and beautiful.
In a time where every decision matters, where leadership, governance, and accountability define our future, we break down the social and economic issues affecting everyday citizens. This is the show that asks the hard questions. Beyond politics, we focus on facts, analyses, and real solutions. Join the conversation, because the future begins at the bottom line. In a time where every decision matters, where leadership, governance, and accountability define our future, we break down the social and economic issues affecting everyday citizens. This is the show that asks the hard questions. Beyond politics, we focus on facts, analyses, and real solutions. Join the conversation, because the future begins at the bottom line.
Welcome back to the second hour of the bottom line, and thank you so much for keeping it Family TV. We appreciate your time and participation. With me in the studio is Comrade Major Retired Awich Pollar. He's many things. He's a double chairman Ntare Old Boys Association. That's a rare occurrence. He is the former judge at the United Nations. He is the current External Relations Director at NRM, the Mighty Party, as he calls it, Secretariat. And certainly he's so many other things, a farmer, family man. It is, I didn't know until recently actually that he's my muko. He marries some lady from our place, his wife. So I don't remember the cock which he brought, but as for us we take cows, so you have to do that again, my friend. And right next to him is our brother, a young politician, a councillor for Kawempe. That's in Makerere University, I think. Which one is in where? It's Kawempe in Makerere University.
Is in Kawempe.
Yes,
yes.
And as your political incarnation is NUP,
National Platform. The mass party.
How could I forget that? Yes. I should have said that a long time ago, but my sincere apologies. I think it was
the
noted.
influence of the comrade.
It must have been noticed in your submissions.
Okay.
Comrade Awich, you were trying to wrap up on the president's address, especially the aspect of corruption and environmental protection. If in just 1 minute you could summarize that.
Yeah, and your question was whether it came too late or so little.
Yeah.
Well, in our manifesto, we have a component of governance, and we are strongly against corruption, and we have formed a government, and we think that the relevant arms of government should act on it. And good enough, the president mentioned it, and Interreligious Council raised it. So as to how little or late it is, we believe that we are on the right track. And for us, as a component of manifesto, we have periodic review. We shall be reviewing our manifesto, how far governments have gone, and we shall also be checking on the relevant government organs to deal with this. It is a serious problem, because if we don't do it, it will erode every aspect of our manifesto, because every aspect of the manifesto is costed. And when you're talking of resource leakages and you don't address it, it means that in any attempt to do whether PDM or whatever education, health, as long as you don't address resource leakage, it will go to waste. So we are glad the Interreligious Council mentioned, and we are glad the President did it. How late or under mentioned, we are yet to follow, because we have a periodic provision. On the issue of environment, he said it's so clear that even a child knows that you shouldn't degrade the environment. And the enforcement procedures of environment will continue. Again, in our manifesto, we have put environment as a key issue to be addressed, and we do hold that our cadres deployed as political leaders of ministries, because ministers are political leaders of ministries, are supported by the civil servants, with the highest civil servant, the PS. So our political leaders who have deployed in ministries, the cadres that we have deployed in ministries, including, for example, in environment, General Tafire, we expect that the political leadership will keep focused on the manifesto and therefore execute and protect the environment. So that is as brief as I can say.
Thank you so much. Comrade Kato, political sentiments aside, there is a public perception that opposition big wings, the NRM party, also big wings, have encroached on the wetland, and there's nothing really that can be said about them, and that the government officials responsible to protect this, these wetlands have looked the other way. Did you share these sentiments?
Thank you so much.
Just shortly, then we move to the next.
You see, it is so dangerous that we even bring that case and then we incline it to something like opposition, big wings. This thing is entirely on people that believe in the ideology or the NRM, because there is a lot of double standards in the way they have handled this environment thing. Yes, the president made mention that indeed we should not settle in wetlands, but you'll find, for example, I will give you clear examples of the recent demolition in Bwaise, there near Kawara. It is clear these people that had settled around were demolished, but there is a factory that is still operating. In Rubiji, Starbucks is still in place, but you'll realize that all other houses are what? Demolished. But what is the root cause of this problem? Because initially, people would not settle in wetlands. But the fact that our institutions no longer work, we are in a country where institutions do not work. Because even on your title, when you go and buy land, even a title, I think at the back page, it is clear there are some physical planning regulations and guidelines. For example, that this land is for residential purposes. This land is for farming purposes. But someone buys it when it is clear of a wetland.
And does the opposite.
Yes, that's the opposite. And is authorized
to do the opposite.
To do the opposite. Who authorizes them?
So what do you think the president in his address actually said that they are going to look back at those who authorized and they are going also to handle them? Just in a sentence. What do you think the president is going to do about that? I mean, I have got authorization, I have got my title, I have got my building plans, I have my structure. So what are you going to do about the structure and the person who authorized me?
That is exactly what I told you, that the president clearly came to just address as the president. But clearly there is nothing he can do. Okay. Because you have seen it all, we cannot see anything new. You see, a quick one. You see, if you have a wife,
I have,
and you have been with her for 40 years and has failed to give birth, do you think she can give birth in the 41st year?
We believe in miracles. No, it's a possibility. Okay, now, Comrade Kato.
Yes.
Let me keep with you. You are about to start something, if you are
Yes.
And we have had LC1 chairpersons in this country.
Yes.
The ones who God has kept alive, going into 20-something years.
Yes.
Do you think that was as a consequence of the cost implication involved in elections? And if so, what miscarriage as far as electoral democracy is concerned has that occasioned? The lack of regular electoral exercise conducted for the LC1s and LC2s?
You see, before I came here, as a councillor in my electoral area, I just settled a dispute whereby the current LC1 of one village in my electoral area garnered against a resident, and they chased him from the village because he was standing against him and was registering people. So I left when the chairman has connived with the police, and they have chased away a young man because the young so I will finish it tomorrow. However, to get back to the exact case that you have brought in place, you see, if you clearly notice what is happening in our country, realize that these positions are taken on based on the loyalty you have to the ruling party. That they will always give you that freedom because you incline to the ruling party. And that has been the modus operandi. And this has made it so hard for these people to change leadership. But now that there is some virus getting into that leadership, they realize that, okay, a doctor has been in this place for 15 years, but now has gotten complacent. Even if we talk to him about our building of the party, is no longer compliant. Perhaps he has over-suffered. Because you see, these LC1s, they are given 120,000 at the end of the year. So literally every year they get an allowance of 10,000. So if someone finds something competent or they get angered by the prevailing circumstances, okay, to their children, you cannot tell me that they can stay in line with what is going on. So I believe why they have failed to change is clearly because these people were working in their line. Because that is the grassroots mobilization. That's where you start your mobilization from. However, right now, why they are changing is simply because these people have been virused. And they no longer trust them. Because now, people are realizing, okay, look, abductions, arresting people for no good reason. There is no medicine in the hospitals. Oh, things are happening. No. We now have to do something. We now have to mobilize. Because for us, in our areas, a Muzei comes and tells you clearly, you see my son, I will not come out to support you clearly or your president, but be sure in the box, the vote will be there. So we are moving in a situation of fear, people fronting fear, instead of doing what is right. And this is so clear to everything that is happening in the country.
In Kawempe, when you are having the elections of Narukora, you even stood against what was obvious affront to electoral democracy. The Mambas, they were there, and soldiers, the counter-terrorism joint, but still, you guys came out and you had your candidates through.
People are vigilant. We have, you see what, I will thank the president of National Unity Platform and the de facto one. You see, he has enlightened people. He has showed them that these things are possible. Recently, you could not find a person like me being a leader. But right now we are. So right now people are visionary. People see everything that goes ahead and now they can fight for themselves. And now this raises some pertinent questions that I want to raise to
Comrade Awich.
Yes, Comrade Awich. I want to ask, because by you quoting that by-election, I want to ask the senior comrade here, because by the virtue of his position, he must be sitting on the highest body of the NRM party. But I am wondering, according to the current happenings, is NRM still in charge?
Why don't you leave me ask that question? Because
Then I have another one, a quick one, because
you'll pass it to me maybe.
okay,
then I will fire
okay.
it to
Excuse
him.
me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want you to fire the senior comrade here. Whether are they still in charge as the NRM party based on the happenings? That is one. Question number 2. As a former youth PDF official,
Kadogo.
yes, are you happy with the leadership of the UPDF and how things are going?
You expect him to answer that?
Through you, Mr. Moderator, I request.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I hope he notes that. But let me first ask him my set of questions. Then he will. I hope, comrade, you have answered that. I will repeat them later at a later stage for you to be able to answer them properly. But this is what I have. 20-something years ago, we had not gone back to Martpate dispensation. We are still under NRM, broad mass movement. Around those years is when we had, even March I think before that, is when we had the LC1 chairpersons. And if I'm not mistaken, all of them came under the NRM system. Meaning that all the LC1 chairpersons, all the committees were all NRM. The accusation out there was that it was in the best interest of the NRM, even when we are into Martpate dispensation, to keep the LC chairpersons with their committees intact under the gaze of no money to hold elections and other sorts of excuses, because it politically worked for you as NRM. Is that a correct assessment of things?
Not really. I can see my colleague he asked me 2 questions, which you will ask, I will answer. But
Don't mind about those.
But I just want to say, whenever you are with me here, you ask questions. I don't fear questions. You see, Rugarama, there was a time in the north when the rebels arrested an elderly man and started asking him questions. Then the Mzee said, please, please, my children, don't ask me questions. I fear questions. Then the rebels asked him, which questions do you fear that you have already started? The very thing I fear is what you have started. But I think that Muzee's question was understandable at the context, because LRA was basically Northerners, Acholi particularly, but also increasingly the way we had nationalized and professionalized the army. The National Army also had a big bulk of Acholis. So this Mzee was not sure of who you are talking to, because by then the civilians were referring to rebels as chicken thieves. So if you mistakenly mistook rebels to be government soldiers, and you excitedly said, these chicken thieves passed here, they just had 3 guns, then you would see what would happen. So the Mzee said, I fear questions. Then when they asked him which questions, he said, you have already started. But because for me, I don't fear questions. Well. So for me, I don't fear questions. You ask. Now, in relation to the LC, that assertion that NRM wanted to retain the status quo in its best interest is not true. It's basically logistics. We should bear in mind that resistance councils indeed was a structure formed during the struggle in Luero. The areas under control of NRA formed resistance councils among the Wananchi. and it worked so well. It ensured that the relationship between the struggle and the wananchi was good, and it kept peace. And that Resistance Council was finally made a national organ. But remember also, to run a country under local government, you need the smallest unit. The smallest, just like in a human body, you have a cell, the blood. So the cell, the blood, the human blood, the cell, in a local government governance, in the governance of a country, the cell in a country is the LC1, which is a good thing. So the chain of command comes up to down. Even now, for example, in the north, where there was, say, government intervention of paying cattle or per household, you don't start with the household at once because there's no such amount of money. So in a village, they actually give slots, they write pieces of paper you pick. So the villagers pick. If you pick cows, and then it is you who moves to the next level. So imagine if the villages were not organized in units of a cell, of a unit, LC, how difficult it would be. It would be an amorphous thing. And also, when all these units are peaceful, then you know the country is peaceful. For example, I've been giving an example that when NRM decided to give a yellow bicycle per village, I told people to show that there was peace in Uganda, there was yellow bicycle all over the country. Why? If there was insecurity like it used to be in Acholi, where you couldn't put on NRM t-shirt, you'd be killed, it would mean that there are some parts of the country where you can't ride a yellow bicycle. But the fact that a yellow bicycle is ridden all over the country, it means the state is everywhere and there's peace. Otherwise, whoever would be riding that one would be slaughtered. So, it is unfortunate that we were not able as government or as a country to organize this election for these years. But I can assure you it's basically because of the financial implication that was there, not for any hidden motive at all. Because we believe if we wanted to get that as NRM, we would still win what we can win. We know it. For example, we went for youth elections. We basically won everywhere, including the ghetto. We won it. So what is so difficult for us that we can win a presidential election and fail to win this one?
There is an accusation on that, Comrade Awich, that
we are going to win
which
something.
was even accepted by your party chairman, that the NRM elections and later on the general elections were so much mad with violence, so much, including the youth especially,
absolutely,
that even parliamentary, that the chairman of NRM and our president reached the point and said, even the ones who are independent are also ours, so they can as well go ahead. Do you think that with that kind of
arrangement,
political atmosphere, you can safely conclude that really the products of such an exercise were the correct picks?
I think we are mixing issues here. There are issues which are distinguishable, and we should distinguish. The youth election, for example, youth election is like the women council that we are going to have.
Special group.
The youth election, once you elect in a village, like the women council, it is only 5 who go to the next level. So if you have a parish of 3 villages, it means at the next level there are only 15 people. And we don't seem to agree that there was chaos in the youth election. Nothing. So that's why I'm saying we should distinguish the issues at hand, not the youth election. Now, even the youth election, you see, once you already won, I think it was 7-7. Once you have won the 7, say for NRM in the villages, it means if you win all the 3 villages, it means the next phase of parish, you have 21 NRMs competing against themselves. And if it goes on like that, then you have, that is how it was. There was no confusion in youth election. So we should distinguish, because now we are mixing things, including the primary election for NRM We are now mixing it with the final election and the youth election, and if we put it in Katogo, we may not come with a clear picture. I still insist the distinguishing of youth election, which was clear and fair, and we won. And now, give us the test now that we say we have won with 71% plus. Can we generate that LCs? We are going to. And you may even find the same thing, that even where we won in a, we lost in parliamentary, or even President Museveni lost in presidential to Honorable Chagulanyi, you may still find we are losing for the LCs if we don't work hard. So where is this rigging accusation? Where is this rigging accusation? We are, of course, we're going to work hard like we did in a Kalangala.
I can see
I think I should give...
Just a minute. Comrade Kato is itching to say something. But either you want to answer to what he has just said, or maybe a whole set of new ideas. Bear in mind also to talk about the cost implication. He mentioned that the main reason as to why for the last 20 plus years there has not been LC1 elections, generally speaking, the very much lower levels of the local council elections has been because of logistics. Do you buy into that?
Let me first give him some information. I think the most violent elections we always have here in Uganda are the youth elections. You see, those elections, they are violently smart. They even hide the delegates. They even scare one to be a delegate. You must first take an oath for you to be made. We are going to make you, but you must do this. When you reach in a place where they have organized those elections, you can wonder. Security is at its peak. Threats are the order of the day. Just let us go even at the parliamentary level. You look at what happens in when they are voting for these regional youth MPs.
Yes, in Fort Potro,
God.
In Fort Potro, the incident between General Henry Tumukunde's son and our state minister for animal wound, what is Robert Bright?
Yes, Ramirama.
The two sons
firing bullets. What? So I think I should. That is a point of information I should. If you have been seeing violence, the most violence in Ugandan elections are the youth elections.
Even now, the recent one, I think the two candidates, they had to settle it in court. Even during the time of Gerald Karuhanga, still there were issues. Even if the issues are between the family members, be it NRM,
issues are there.
Issues. That notwithstanding, can you comment about the cost implication as the driving force for over 20 years of no raw elections?
Now, the problem in Uganda is not money. The problem in Uganda is the allocation.
The prioritization.
Yeah, and the
what
priorities. Yes, that is the biggest challenge we have. Now, to be clear, there are some allocations that are always made, and you clearly wonder, the budget just for State House, the budget for travels, the budget in security, the budget in parliament. Only that can show you that this is not priority. I think in the recent past, you clearly saw when the Electoral Commission came out and made mention of we are not going to elect for LC chairpersons. And like after 2 weeks, the president said, no, we are going to elect for LC1 chairpersons. So where did the money come from?
All of a sudden.
Comrade
Awich.
So money is there.
On that very point, there is this concept of civic empowerment. Even when we are going for the very much lower levels and women council elections, do you feel comfortable that we are a society, our electorate, is civically empowered to make the correct political decisions to influence policy in the country.
Okay, I just want to tell my young brother Kato that in our NRM cadreship, we, particularly me, I try to be a disciplined cadre. For example, if you're presenting, I take my notes. So now, like, your information completely disrupted me, but I looked on. So take the cadreship we have into noob cadreship, the discipline, so that you take note and you answer at appropriate time. Okay. Now, about the civic education, if you ask me whether I'm satisfied with it or not, I don't think I'm satisfied. I can assure you that. Much as somebody will ask me, for you to be satisfied, how do you measure it? To measure that the civic is now enough to make you Awich satisfied. Is it measured in civicogram or civicometer? So that for you not to be satisfied, you said it has not reached the threshold. Now, under the Constitution, there are bodies which are mandated to do civic education. Human rights is one of them. Human rights is one of them.
Electoral Commission is voter education.
Yes, human rights and voter education, election commission. Now, with voter education, the election commission is supposed to accept to some organizations,
private organizations,
which will help them. I don't know how far they have involved those.
Civic space has closed down. That's
but with human rights, they're supposed to do it. In fact, if you notice some of my presentation, I feel like I'm doing civic education than what you'd call towing the traditional party position. I feel like I do awareness in my presentation as well. So we should, as a country, do more in civic education so that the citizens are empowered to make well-informed decisions. And that is why I'm seeing, because I've not come across a well-programmed manner of a Human Rights Commission saying we shall do this or we have done this. If it was that vibrant, I think they would have called some of us for such workshops or seminars or awareness. Or we would be seeing many on the TV. I've not seen many on the television or on the radio. Information from Human Rights Commission on civic awareness, or workshops or seminars by Human Rights Commission on civic awareness. So I am not afraid of the people being aware, because for me, as NRM, I believe in a politics that is science, identifying the problems of the people and designating or diagnosing and giving solutions. And that is the historical methods of work of NRM. Therefore, if that is the historical methods of work, I wouldn't be afraid of a community which has civic awareness, because it would help me. They would decide and make informed decision. And they would also help in the implementation of our manifesto if they're civically aware. So to answer your questions, I am really not convinced for the indicators that are put. I don't see Human Rights Commission programs on the TV. I've not attended any of their workshops. I've not seen pamphlets that they are printed for civic awareness. I've not seen any.
Probably we should also ask ourselves about the budget. What is the budget allocation to Uganda Human Rights Commission?
I don't know. I've not heard them. If that is what is prohibiting them,
complaining about
if it is what is prohibiting them, then they should tell us. If it is what is pulling them backward, but whatever it is, whether they are limited by funds, I am saying I am not convinced. And therefore, maybe if I had the leverage or the right forum, I would insist. If I heard from human rights, I would tell the executive that, colleagues, where does it fall in our manifesto under governance and civic awareness? If it falls in our manifesto, which I'm sure it falls, because manifesto covers everything, then can we make the line, the right government organ implement this so that the country is aware?
Oh, thank you so much. Comrade Kato,
Yes.
as we try to wind up on this
Issue.
these polls, Africa generally inherited a type of democracy from its former colonial masters. This electoral democracy of ever after generally 5 years, bringing in new leaders, has been with us for averagely 60 years, since the white man departed physically from us, although we in the Pan-African world don't believe that he actually left, because he's more around than he was even before. That in itself, do we need a rethink about this electoral democracy of ours, including but not limited to these lower level elections?
So what makes you think that perhaps this method is not working is specifically the way it works? You see, Uganda has now normalized abnormalities, which is very unfortunate. Right now, monetization of politics is normal. And you'll find a colleague saying, if I don't have $1 billion, I don't join that parliamentary election. And it is normal. They don't even care whether they have qualifications. They don't even care whether they are fit to run, or they are ideologically oriented. All they think about is money. And now that is the new normal that we have right now. So to bring you back to the exact issue here is, the system works. It is very okay if it is done in the right way. If after 5 years, clearly we come and we vote and we exactly get the results of voting, be sure you will be very proud. If our constitution works the way it was drafted, clearly we shall be so proud. If that's, because if it is clear, for example, that every after 2 terms we change leadership, I would even be dreaming of becoming president.
Thank you so much.
But now you will miss out on me because there is something to do with no age limit, no term limit, and all that.
Thank you so much, Brother Kato. Brother Kato is a councillor for Kawempe. As you can hear him, he's growing into very serious politics of this country, although he has got a lot of reservations as to whether we are doing it the correct way. Ladies and gentlemen, very quickly, I'm with Comrade Major Awich Pollar, and he's so many things. And I'm with Kato. Kato is, like I have already told you, a politician, a councillor for Kawempe. I am sitting in for Comrade Baguma. Comrade Baguma is on official duties. I'm Comrade Rugarama Daniel, and we are now going into our last phase, and our last topic is about the FIFA World Cup, which is taking place in United States of America, Mexico, and Canada. All those countries I'm talking about so far have been ejected. They were ejected in the group of the last 16. Comrade Awich, Africa took 10 representatives. We didn't fare badly. We graduated from the original group to the group of 32, except one, I think.
Yes.
The rest we graduated and we went to. We even have representatives in the last 8. I think Morocco is there. And My question, I would want to start with you on, is do you think the officiation, especially towards the last 16, Egypt, Cape Verde, around there, do you think we have had fair officiation? Do you sense some bit of racism, like it has been alleged?
Okay, thank you so much. Your question is specific, but I'd like to share with the viewers. Maybe we see the feel and put ourselves in the feel of FIFA. I know that those who dare to know the history is that the FIFA World Cup was started the first one was played in 1930. And it had only 13 teams. 13 teams played the first FIFA World Cup in 1930 and was won by Uruguay, which beat Argentina. Since then, this is going to be the 23rd or so FIFA World Cup. And currently, the world member state stands at 193 countries, the whole world. So nearly all countries are members of FIFA. And it's a very interesting game. It's a global thing. And since 1930, Brazil has won 5 times.
Yes.
Germany and Italy has won 5 times. No.
I think four.
Argentina 5, then Germany and France. I mean Italy 4 times. Then France 2 each. France 2 and Argentina 2. So in all they have shared, only 8 countries have won the World Cup. Now, about racism. The World Cup, the World Football Federation as it is, ideally is against racism. Very much so. And
they talk about it.
Very much
they
so.
Act it.
You see, it's a capitalist world, and football is capitalism. So if you bring racism, you spoil the business. It's not that
about money.
It is not that they would love and they're against Drogba as a black man, but they're against you bringing racism because it spoils business. And that is why you hear a lot of talk about anti-racism in football. Anti-racism. Make no mistake, not because our colleagues hate racism per se, but that they are protecting business. Because it is billions of shillings. See the way the guys earn per week, and how much do the companies, the company directly owning the clubs and associated adverts and all that, is billions of shillings. So ideally, they hate racism. But however, linking it with the current officiation, voices are going, sentiments are coming that they say really not fair and tagged to racism. I think the feeling is that some capital owners think that the business would continue if you have particular. A lot has been invested in terms of technology. Technology was brought in, rest makes business, and also the contradiction that if a star which seems to bring business is eliminated, it affects your business. So it's really bringing a lot of unfairness. Sentiments are crying out, like in the games that you have mentioned. And I think since it affects the capital of the capitalist, they will be forced to do it right. It's a question of time.
Going forward.
Going forward. Now, you even hear funny things.
Now,
very own.
The issue here clearly originates from 2 things. One, the inferiority complex, but what is most important is those we try to give how they behave. You see, Africans, we have a challenge whereby the way we handle coaching is more on agility. They lose.
They switch off.
they switch off towards the end, and that's clearly to us that, and now that's how we have always lost.
Talking about switching off, Comrade Kato, because we are really winding up. There was very quickly. I will each of you one minute. The FIFA World Cup. There is an assertion by some of these friends of mine in the Pan-African world that actually the black community is overrepresented. That we are in France, we are in Brazil, we are in Uruguay, we are in then the African teams from the African continent. Forget that Morocco has twice applied to join the European Union. They were ejected. Even when they were in Qatar, they claimed that they were giving their success to the Arab world. I don't know what they call the Arab world. Do you have a feeling that when Brazil or France is winning, you as a black man, although on the African continent, just in a word, you are also winning?
We are not winning. Because what makes us African are the behaviors. Why Mbappe? Why a black Rashford? Why a black
Saka.
Dembele and Saka don't act the way a Wanu Kessie acts, a Wanu black player acts, is because of the growth in behavior. What makes us African is how we have is how we have been raised up. A Wanu Saka who grew up from England, from the word go, who was born in England, will come up knowing how things are ran in that setting.
And for us, we don't know.
For us, we shall eat excessively. For us, we shall do things that are not supposed to be done
Awich,
and make us unfit for the
do
game.
you associate yourself with those who claim that when a 85% black French team is winning, and over against 82% Brazilian team is winning, Uruguay, you here on the African continent, you are equally winning?
Well, I differ with my young brother. I think we are winning. You see, we have heard history about our Africans outside Africa. We very well know that out of the 193 countries in the world, the most populous country with blacks is Nigeria, about 150 million now. The second most populous countries with blacks is Brazil, with 90 million.
That's true.
And to this extent, we have not lost the Africanness. For example, we have had countries applying to join African Union, like the reggae country, what is it? Jamaica.
No, it's not alone. Even these lower Latin American number of countries,
we have had,
including the Barbados.
Yes.
They are also contemplating.
New Caledonia, all those countries. There are actually over 20 countries are on standby to join African Union.
And African Union is considering that.
Because they are saying, look, guys, history found us the other side, but we are Africans in blood and in identity. Some have even gone as far as getting to know there are clans in Africa where they came from.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is on that note. I know it is getting hotter and more beautiful, like I promised you. But next time, it will be Wednesday, same time, we shall be here, and it will be magnificent. It has been your host standing in for Comrade Baguma Tinkasimere, who is on official duties. Comrade Rogarama is my name. And with me, it has been the budding young politician, Comrade Kato, for this constituency, Kawempe, Makerere, and senior Comrade Major, retired Awich Pollar, the twice chairperson of Entire Old Boys Association, and also a UN judge at one time, and also now currently our foreign affairs or External Relations Director at the mighty party called NRM, where I associate myself greatly, but having issues which after this we are going to continue discussing with Comrade Awich. It has been a pleasant evening. See you next time. Have a blessed night.
This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
In a time where every decision matters, where leadership, governance, and accountability define our future, we break down the social and economic issues affecting everyday citizens. This is the show that asks the hard questions. Beyond politics, we focus on facts, analyses, and real solutions. Join the conversation, because the future begins at the bottom line.